Hey everyone, so I've made a video a couple of years back on why the Weasley family struggled financially, and to date it's the most popular video I've ever uploaded. But here's the thing, it's really short, it's got poor audio, and in my own opinion, as my own worst critique, I feel the video is really poorly put together. It's from my early days as a YouTuber. Now, it's been suggested by so many that I should remake and improve upon the topic of the video with my current editing style, and based upon the additional research I've done in the past day or so, there really is a lot more I can do with such a video topic. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. In today's video, I'm going to analyse in detail why the Weasleys were in fact so poor, and the factors that contributed to the situation. So with that being said everyone, welcome back to the world of Harry Potter. Please enjoy the updated, more detailed and extended improved version of why the Weasleys were so poor. Okay everyone, so let's get started. So it's very clear that the Weasleys struggled financially from early on in the books. We've seen several examples of hand-me-downs, the vast majority that poor old Ron was on the receiving end of. We've seen the family's concern over the price of books each year, and we've seen Molly maintain a positive outlook on finding a solution to the financial difficulties that she and her family had faced. So what's happening guys? How did things get so bad? What led the family down the road of perceived poverty? Well, let's look at the parents to start with, Arthur and Molly. The couple have been happily married for quite some time. They genuinely loved each other and really wanted to start a family together, more than anything. So much that they opted out of joining the Order of the Phoenix and opted out of the First Wizarding War in general. Now the reason I'm mentioning this everyone is to highlight their level of dedication to each other, and also to highlight the important fact that Arthur did not fight in the war, something I'll refer back to a little later on. Molly fell pregnant quite young and early into her marriage, meaning Arthur needed to get a job. He had always had an interest in muggles, specifically muggle artifacts, so he lands a job in the misuse of muggle artifacts office, where he remained for over 15 years on the same salary. No pay increase, no bonus, no promotion, no nothing. So here's the thing, on the salary Arthur was on, it was substantial enough to take care of Molly and their newborn son Bill. They can afford clothes, some essentials and possibly even some luxuries. The situation changes slightly when Charlie is born. Arthur, still on the same salary, now has to stretch it out to accommodate for 2 children. Then Percy is born, then Fred, George, Ron and Ginny. So basically, Arthur and Molly now have to divide his income, that hasn't changed since his original employment, between 7 children. The children needed robes, uniforms, books, equipment, 7 times. That's a lot of money, but here's the funny thing. The only reason there were 6 boys was because Molly wanted a girl. Had Ginny been born 2nd or 3rd, we may not have seen the Weasley 7 at all. So with that number of children, Molly stayed home to take care of the family. The kids were all so young. They needed a full-time mother, but at the same time, that was her choice to stay home and not work. I think we could all agree that it would have been a lot easier to have both Molly and Arthur working, providing 2 separate incomes, but it wasn't the case, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Being a stay-at-home mother or father is such a blessing in itself. It could be that, although she's clearly a skilled witch, if she did decide to work again, Molly would be at a disadvantage, as being out of work for so long could mean that few were willing to hire her. It's not out of the question to assume that she probably did do some odd jobs for people during her school years and possibly sold her knitting work, but the amount of money she would make would still be small. So let's get back to Arthur's job. Now, my opinion on this has changed since my original video because, honestly, I gave it a lot more thought and analysation. So Arthur, as I've said, works in the misuse of Muggle Artifacts office on a basic salary. Now, there were those who worked in the Ministry who fought Voldemort and his Death Eaters in the Wizarding War. A lot of people did. There was also those who supported Voldemort during the war, who claimed innocence and were released, as we all know. The thing is, those people took sides. Those people fought for what they believed in. I can imagine that there was many who frowned upon Arthur for his lack of involvement in fighting Voldemort, or in fighting or even choosing a side. His line of duties, which involved muggles and everyday muggle objects, was deemed as a complete waste of funding, so his department was financially stressed as it is, and the ministry definitely had no plans to change that. Arthur was constantly passed over for promotion in other departments, especially after the appointment of Cornelius Fudge as minister, someone who Arthur clashed with quite often. Then there was Lucius Malfoy, who strongly disliked Arthur for his association with Muggleborns, his association with Muggle artifacts, and his overall association with anything Muggle related in general. Lucius took pleasure in thwarting him at every opportunity he had. Now guys, with that being said, we have to address a situation that I'm quite sure is going to cause a split opinion between many of you, and that is the topic of ambition. In this case, Arthur's ambition. Now, I've given my reason for Arthur's lack of promotions and pay rises being down to his general interest in Muggle artifacts and his run-ins with Fudge and Malfoy and his overall department that he works in. But here's the thing, Arthur didn't have to stay in the misuse of Muggle artifacts office. He could have sought a transfer to a more active department. Fudge doesn't oversee every single employee. It does to some extent appear that Arthur did have a shyness about him. I mean, let's think about it. The man struggled for years on the same wage. He knew how difficult things were. Surely that would drive him to actively pursue a pay rise or a higher position despite everything. His son Percy even questions his father's lack of ambition, as he himself had risen quite quickly in the ranks of the ministry. Arthur truly loved his job. He just didn't value money enough, and neither did Molly. They both value family and their principles above everything else. Money is only needed to help them sustain their life, not live it. Even when they won their huge prize sum of money, they spent it on a trip to visit their son in Egypt. And if you think about it, it's exactly the kind of thing the Weasleys would do. Yet despite this, their youngest son got the blunt end of it all. By the time Charlie and Bill graduated and moved out, Percy was in his final year and had his wand and decent robes. The twins had their own wands and new robes, as obviously there would be a lot of infighting if one got a hand-me-down and the other got a new uniform. Still, even at that point, Molly didn't feel like money should be spent on something that was already available, and poor old Ron got a permanent room in the hand-me-down hotel. His wand was second-hand, his robes were second-hand, his uniform sweater was most likely Charlie or Bill's, something I feel the movie does justice when comparing it to Harry's. You can see the colour and shade difference, and let's not forget Ron's Yule Ball outfit. It literally looked like it was at least a century old. So with that being said everyone, those are some of the core reasons for the Weasleys' financial struggles. Now I definitely agree with their belief that family, love and happiness are more important than money could ever make them. But at the same time, if you can provide your children with a decent life, making sure they do see some luxuries at one point in their lives, it's not so bad either. Anyway guys, that is my re-envisioned, remade and updated version of why the Weasleys were so poor. Let me know why you believe the family were so poor in the comment section below, and my favourite comment will get pinned to the top of the page. Thanks again guys, have a good day, remember to be happy, and I'll see you all in the next video. Thank you so much for watching, I truly appreciate your support. Everyone, notifications of uploads are more important than ever, so please, if you haven't already, turn those notifications on to make sure you're notified the moment my video goes live. Making videos is what I love to do, it's my dream and my passion. However, it does cost time and money to produce this content, so if you have $1 to spare to support me on Patreon in exchange for some exclusive unseen content, then you can click the Patreon link below or at the end of this video. Please only support me if you can afford it. And make sure to follow me on Instagram at InstaDNJ and on Twitter at PotterFolklore Check out my other videos appearing on screen, and please make sure, most importantly, to hit that subscribe button. Thanks again everyone, and please have a great day.